There are numerous conspiracy theories about Epstein's death, so KPX5's Phil Matier and I asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, does he think this was simply suicide?
Well, let's be very clear, Phil. There is no way in the world, if this guy has already tried to kill himself, allegedly, and you recall, 10 days ago, he said, I'm trying to kill myself, and they took him to the hospital. And believe me, they brought him back, and they tested him 2 days later and said he no longer is trying to kill himself. And so routine activities inside of the jail was what you practice. And that's how the guy got time to hang himself.
And the guards just mysteriously went to sleep.
Well, they were not asleep.
They were profoundly overworked. I mean, I think we know that.
But this guy is... He is a suspected, alleged pedophile. He's a multi-billionaire, convicted who
and no evident source of income. No one seems to know what he did for a living.
Yeah, it's very
had
shady.
Friends, everybody from Donald Trump to Bill Clinton and other powerful people. Are we going to? And he dies in federal custody. Are we going to see a congressional investigation on this?
Probably not. I can't imagine any member of Congress wants to touch this. And here's why. If you're a Democrat, you've got the allegations that Bill Clinton had contacts with this guy and was friendly with this guy. If you're a Republican, Trump was his friend. And so I think they're going to say, oh, you know what, that's fine. We're going to let the AG do this. We're going to let the FBI investigate. And then we'll read the report when it's done.
They've also dropped some other names. Former Governor Bill Richardson from New Mexico. George Mitchell, the youth formerly headed the U.S. Senate, who did his stuff for baseball. There's some interesting names. As a matter of fact, when the word came that this guy had allegedly killed himself, I made 5 calls. I knew 5 different people. I said, I hope you have an alibi.
So there's 2 things really kind of going forward, which is the case against anyone else who may be implicated continues, and there is the question of what happens to his assets, right?
That's right, and they are substantial, including an island that some people are actually going to right now. And it's kind of interesting if you think about it. With his death, there's now no one to contest search warrants and other kinds of invasive things that are involved in an investigation. So if someone was trying to cover something up, it may backfire because he was the only person who could say, you can't go into my house, you can't look into my computer, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the authorities pretty much have free reign over all of his assets to search them and to find other potentially incriminating things that implicate other people. Meantime, KPX5's Phil Matier says that when people approach him on the street, they want to know which Democratic candidates he thinks will beat President Trump. So we asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown.
Essentially the same thing, except it's very clear there's no way the Democratic National Committee should have started this nonsense of doing all of these crazy debates. They're overexposing people that are undressed.
You know, I don't know of any pundit that would put it that way, but he does have a point. People saw the candidates and were underwhelmed.
That's right. I mean, if you look at even now, President Trump, when he has a rally, people are lining up the day before, 4 o'clock in the morning. You don't see that at any rally for any of the Democratic candidates. And I'll tell you right now, part of the problem is there's just too many. You've got to research them. You got to figure out which one you like. It's just too much work for regular people to create a dossier on 24 different folks.
But you've got to have, if you're going to try to get a series going, and I think it will be a series. I think from now on, about every 2 months, there's going to be a debate whether there's a campaign or not, whether there's an office to run for or not, because it is good theater.
I don't know. It's getting old. It's getting old. I'm wondering this, Mayor Brown.
It's the people playing the roles.
Why?
They've got to do some casting, Phil.
Trump's going to have 40% of the vote, right?
No question, forever.
He's not going to get above it necessarily,
no.
But he's not going to go below it.
He's not even trying to get above it. He knows that's a winner.
So he's not even trying to cross over.
No.
So the Democrats have to come up with a candidate that can cross over.
And can get people to vote, to inspire people to get out to vote.
And that's their problem, is that they want to inspire the young with the progressive agenda, but that could alienate the old. But if the old don't show up, then they don't make 40.
At the moment, Phil, your original comment is correct. We don't have a horse. As a matter of fact, the Derby and all of the races are gone without us. We not only need a horse, we need a jockey.
I still don't know what he meant by that.
Yeah, I don't either. Now, it's still very early, and I think people are distracted. But I think that as the process goes along, don't you think that there will be increased interest, enthusiasm, and focus the closer you get to actually casting your ballot?
Well, I'm not sure. I think this time around, most folks just say, look, I will vote for whoever the Democrats put up against President Trump, regardless of who it actually is, even if it's not my favorite person in this field of people. So the enthusiasm seems to be more anti-Trump enthusiasm than what we're seeing sort of pro any of the candidates.
But enthusiasm matters because unenthusiastic voters sometimes stay home.
That's right, and that's the big problem. And you got to get the turnout, especially in those really important swing states. You know, we see these polls that say nationwide a matchup between President Trump and this candidate would end like this. But remember, those national polls aren't really useful. You got to look at polls in those particular states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, et cetera. That's where the numbers really matter, and that's what we got to pay more attention to.